So today I'm going to talk about the 5 mistakes that I see clients make when they're doing their own enrollment and comparing their plans. So I'm going to make sure that you don't make those 5 mistakes. So I'm going to cover them with you today. So once you get to this screen here, you're going to scroll down here to where it says Find Health Plans and Drug Plans and click on Find Plans Now. All right, so explore your Medicare coverage options now. Right now, you can see it says review your 2026 options. So we are now looking specifically at the 2026 plans. If you have an account, you can go ahead and go in, put your username and password in. If you don't have an account, you can just go over here. It says continue without logging in. So I'm going to continue without logging in. Once again, make sure you click on the 2026 because you don't want 25 information. You want 2026. Go ahead and type in your zip code. Now, this zip code is for the state and county and city in which you currently reside. So if you're a snowbird and let's say you spend some time in Florida, but you're here in Ohio, wherever you reside, pay your taxes, that's the zip code you're going to enter. So we're going to go ahead and enter in the zip code here and hit continue. Now, here is the different options we have where it says select which plan you want. Do you want to look at Medicare Advantage plans? Do you want to look at the Medicare Part D prescription drug plans or the Medigap? Now, for this particular situation, we're going to talk about Medicare prescription drugs Part D and then click Find Plans. So now they're asking questions to you. Remember, it says you're viewing 26 plans. So make sure this continues to say 26 plans. Do you get help with your Medicare health or drug cost? Now, some clients receive help through like state Medicaid, which is their local job and family services, or they receive extra help, LIS, low income subsidy. So if you receive any of those, you're going to want to click whichever one is applicable to you. In our situation here, I'm going to put, I do not get help from any of these programs, and then continue. So now it's saying, do you want to see the drug cost when you compare the plans? The answer is yes, you definitely want to see drug cost. And then click next. Now, here's where you're going to add your prescriptions. Now, before you even start this process, I would make sure you have all of your prescriptions there in front of you because you want to make sure you put exactly what the bottle says. So let's just go through and get a few examples and add the prescriptions here. So let's add Metformin. So as you can see, Metformin typically is your diabetic medication, but there's a lot of options with the Metformin, as you can see this. So we have to be very careful when we're adding the Metformin. What does your bottle say? So let's go and look at the one that says Metformin hydrochloride. We're going to click that one and then add the drug. Now, as you can see, the dosage here, there's a lot of options. So you have a solution, a tablet, different dosages here. You have some extended release that say ER. So let's say you take a 500 milligram tablet. Well, do you take the 500 milligram tablet or do you take the 500, let me find it here, 500 milligram tablet extended release? There's a big difference when you're putting it in. So make sure that you're looking exactly what your bottle says. So let's just go back and do the 500 milligram tablet. And let's just say you take 2 per day. So you're going to be at 60 per month. We're going to add that to your drug list. Okay. Now let's add a couple of other medications for example purposes. So add another medication. We're going to add Lexapro. So you can just start typing it in and it gives you a drop down. So let's just click on Lexapro here. In my example, I typed in Lexapro, which is the brand name medication, but there is a generic available. It's called Islatapram. It may cost you less. So if you want to add the generic, you're going to go ahead and just click add generic. But let's say, for example, that your doctor says you can't use a generic, that you have to use a brand name, then you would just mark keep the brand name. But in this situation, let's go ahead and add the generic. Once again, you have your dosage here. Be really careful. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see is this gets entered wrong. Because look right here, these are solutions, like a liquid solution, but these are tablets. So we want to make sure we mark the correct one. So once again, Let's do the tablet, 1 per day, so 30 a month, add prescriptions. Now, let's do another medication here. And this is one that's very common for people that have COPD. So this is an inhaler. It's called Symbicort. So let's go down here to the inhaler, add drug. So once again, it's popping up that there is a generic medication for this. Well, let's say that you can't take the generic or it doesn't work for you. So I'm going to go ahead in this example and keep the brand name medication. So keep brand. Now, once again, look at the dosage. There is 2 different options. There's an 80-4.5 micrograms, or there's a 160-4.5. So you got to know which one of these, and it would say it on your, on the prescription. So let's go with the 80. Now it's saying what size inhaler. Are we looking at a bigger inhaler or is a smaller inhaler? This particular one only has one size, so we're at 10.2 gram inhaler. Quantity, how many inhalers do you use per month? Okay, typically this prescription is typically 2 puffs per day, so 1 inhaler will last a month. So 1 inhaler every month, add to drug list. So now you can see that all of your medications that you've entered is here. You want to double check, make sure they're accurate. So the drug name, the dosage, make sure if you're taking a tablet, it says tablet, not capsule. So you and I know the tablets are typically more of a round, flat pill. Your capsules are a little more oblong. And so we want to make sure we make the exact put the exact type of prescription in there because we don't want to mess that up. All right. And then of course down here to your Symbicort. If you see something that's incorrect, you can go in and edit the drug. Okay. So you just go click edit drug. All right. So now we're done adding medications. So we're going to do done adding prescriptions. And now you can choose up to 5 pharmacies that you want to compare. So let's go ahead and put our zip code in here. So we have our zip code. What pharmacies do we want to compare? So let's look at, let's just say Kroger Pharmacy. Find a Kroger Pharmacy. We're going to add that. So you can see it just added right here. Now we're going to compare and look at CVS Pharmacy for my example. So find CVS Pharmacy. Let's do Walgreens. Oops. Walgreens Pharmacy. Let's just go ahead and do Walmart, just so we can get a clear picture of all the options. Walmart. Okay, so now we have, let's just say we've done 4 pharmacies here, and now we're going to go to continue the view plans. All right, so here we are. You can see here where it says choose a plan to join. And it shows the plans, and this will be the county that you reside in. Okay, so you want to make sure that your county is there. So I want to kind of just talk about the 5 mistakes that I see people make when they're doing this. So we've got the drugs entered in. We've made sure that drugs are in there correctly, which is obviously extremely important. So let's talk about the first mistake that I see. So if you currently have a prescription drug plan, on that card, your prescription card, on the bottom right-hand side, it has a contract code number. So let me give you an example, like this Humana code or this Humana plan. It has this code here, S5884-137-0. So when you're comparing your current plan to what all these other plans do, we have to make sure it's the current and the correct plan. So make sure you have your card out. The bottom right-hand side will say CMS with your plan number. So we want to make sure that this is the plan number, your plan number, we're doing the correct one. Okay. So we don't want to compare the wrong plan. Many of the insurance companies have multiple plans. So Humana, for example, has 3 prescription drug plans. WellCare, for example, I believe off the top of my head, they have 2 or 3 different plans. So you can't just look at the name Humana or WellCare or Cigna and just assume, oh, this is the plan I have, because some of these insurance companies have multiple plans. Okay. So what we're going to do is we put the prescriptions in, we hit calculate. This was the plan that came up as the best option for what you entered in, your prescriptions, and what made the most sense for you particularly. Okay, so let's take a deep dive into this example here of what they're telling you is the best option for you. Okay, so the monthly premium is a $0 cost. Now this is for 2026. $0 premium on a monthly basis. Also tells you that your total drug and premium for 2026 is projected to be $1,067.90. That's an estimate of what your cost is going to be for the medication for next year. Okay. The deductible is going to be $615. So let's take and dig into this. But before we get to that, let's just say in our example here that you currently have a WellCare prescription drug plan. So let's go down and find the WellCare plan that you currently have. So you can see right here all the different names of the insurance plans that are available. Let's go down and find the one that you have. Well, there's a WellCare plan, and here's a WellCare plan. Let's use this plan as the one that you have as my example. Okay. So let's say you pull out your WellCare card and you see 4802-149 on the bottom right-hand side. This tells me this is the plan you're currently enrolled in, but you can see this is not your best option for next year because look at this number, 3304.44, $3,304.44 if you decide to stay on this plan instead of moving to the Humana plan that came up as your best option. So you can see it is so important to make sure that these plans are reviewed every single year. Now we're going to go to mistake number 2 that I see is maybe your prescriptions were covered this year on your WellCare plan in my example, but let's say next year that they're not covered. Maybe a prescription fell off of the formulary, which I can see this jumping clear up to $3,304 definitely shows me that something is not covered. One of the prescriptions is not covered for next year. So looking at this shows me right here that if you was on the WellCare plan and taking Symbicort, it would not be covered this year. So this is very important. So this is mistake number 2, is you want to make sure that your prescriptions are all on the formulary. Don't just assume, well, my plan covered my medications this year, they're going to cover it next year, because that's not always the case. The insurance companies have the right to make a change. Okay. So now let's dig into this. This is the plan that let's just say this is the plan you currently have. This is my example plan. If you was on WellCare for 2025, the premium was $0 here in Ohio. It's jumping up to $7.60. So you can see $7.60 deductible here, $615 deductible. I have the prescriptions listed. And now here is mistake number 3 that I see is there are what we call preferred pharmacies, and some pharmacies are just standard pharmacies, but in network. So you might see where it says in network, but typically a preferred pharmacy, you're going to get a better rate when you pick up your prescriptions. Okay. So it's very important that you can get with a preferred pharmacy if at all possible. Okay. So we want to make sure that when you're looking at pharmacies, make sure you're looking for that preferred pharmacy, if at all possible, if there's a preferred in your area. If there's not a preferred in your area, at least make sure you stay to an in-network pharmacy. Okay. So let's jump back here. So this is the plan in my example that maybe you currently have, but the plan that's coming up as your best option for your medications and your situation is the Humana. So let's take a deep dive into this. Okay. So this plan for 2026, $0 cost, has a $615 deductible. Now, remember with deductibles, this is mistake number 4 I see, is clients unfortunately forget that deductibles start back over every January. So if you have a plan that has a deductible, it may be applicable to all tiers of your medications, and it may not be, just depending on what plan you go with. If the drug deductible is applicable to all tiers, that means that you're going to pay that deductible before the insurance company kicks in. So when you go in January or February, pick up your medications, and all of a sudden you're hit with this big amount you got to pay, and it goes under the deductible, just remember that deductible resets every January. A lot of clients forget that because by October, November, December, of course, you've hit your deductible and you're typically paying less for your prescriptions. And then January 1st comes, you go get your medications, boom, you get hit with the deductible. That's mistake number 4 that I see, that the deductible, you kind of forget about it and you need to make sure that you remember it. Okay, so $0 premium, deductible $615. All right, so this is the plan that it's telling us to move you to, or that you would need to move to. Once again, here's all of your dosages on your prescriptions, the quantity, frequency, and of course, is it a generic or a brand name medication? All right, so on this particular plan, all of the pharmacies that I listed are non-preferred. They're in network, so that means you can go to them. They're just a little more expensive than if you found a preferred pharmacy. So you would want to find a preferred pharmacy. So you can click here where it says find preferred pharmacies. And it looks like on this plan, the only preferred pharmacy is if you do mail order. So you can see here in network, in network, in network, in network, but you don't see any of them popping up as preferred. So then your preferred is only mail order option. Well, let's say that you don't like mail order option, which is fine. You can still use a in-network. It's just going to be more expensive than if you use preferred. Okay, so going back down here, looking at the pharmacies, they're all in network. Now, you can see that even if they're in network, they're not necessarily going to be the same cost. So if we look at CVS pharmacy versus Kroger, Walgreens, Walmart, it's going to be a little bit different. So like the total yearly drug cost is like $1,079, $1,074, $1,069, $1,067. So you can see that they're all in network, but they can be a little different of cost that you have to pay. Okay, so just be really careful when you're comparing this to make sure that you get the best deal for you. Okay, so that is mistake number 4 that I see. Try to get a preferred pharmacy if at all possible. If not, just at least make sure you are going to an in-network standard pharmacy, so you can even get a better deal than an out-of-network pharmacy. All right, so this would be the plan that I would recommend then if I was doing your review for you. So this is what I would recommend. And this breaks down what your cost would be based on January to December. Now, remember, this is acting or calculating as if January 1st, you have no medication in your cabinet and you're starting brand new. So January, you're going to see a higher rate for January, February, and March. This is because you have that deductible to meet. And then after that, you're going to see it drop down. Okay, so this is, and once again, it shows the difference between CVS, Kroger's, Walgreens, Walmart. Now, remember, this is all estimates because the numbers can change a little bit, but this gives you a good idea and a good estimate. All right, so going back to the 5th mistake that I see is, once again, making sure that you are comparing your current, I'm going to stop sharing this real quick so I can see. You want to make sure that you are comparing your current contract code to whatever one is popping up as the number 1 plan for you. Okay, that's so very important. So do not just look at it and say, oh, I'm on a WellCare plan, so this must be the WellCare plan I'm on. No, no, no. Make sure you check that contract code, because I really don't want you to be comparing the wrong plan. Same thing with like Humana. So let's say you're on a Humana plan, a Humana pops up as the #1 plan for you. Well, it might not be the Humana plan you're on. You might need to change to the new Humana plan for the best option for you for 2026. So the 5 mistakes, again, let me just go through one more time to make sure I hit all of them. #1, make sure that you're not comparing the wrong plans. #2, make sure that you check the formularies or the list of covered medications. So when you go out there and look at the projected cost, if you see a real high amount versus some of the other plans, a lower amount, that means probably some of your medications may not be on the formulary. And when you click on it, it will say not on formulary. #3 is the deductible. Don't forget that deductible starts back over every January. Now, not all plans is the deductible the same, nor is all plans the deductible applicable to every single drug tier. They may be only applicable to certain drug tiers, but just be aware of that deductible. #4, we talked about the preferred pharmacy. If it's possible for you to get a preferred pharmacy, you want to go that way because that's the cheapest way for you to get your prescription drugs. But if you can't, or there's not a preferred pharmacy that you can't use locally and you don't want to do mail order, then just make sure that you're using an in-network pharmacy because you want to get the best deal for your money when you pick up your prescriptions. Out of network is definitely going to be more expensive. And then once again, #5, the contract code. I kind of just want to reiterate this again because unfortunately I have seen where it's been compared the wrong plan. So look at that contract code before you go out to the Medicare.gov website and you enter everything, and have your Medicare prescription drug card right there, because on the bottom right-hand side, it's going to show that contract code. Also have your prescription drugs all laid out there for you. You actually want to see the bottles or the actual script. So when you're entering them in, you're entering in exactly what those scripts say. Now, one question I get is, well, what if my bottle says as needed? Well, as needed for you might be different as needed for me. So what you want to do is look at that bottle, and if it says like quantity 30 pills a month, that means that they're allowing you to get 30 pills a month if you need it. So to me, to have accurate, I would put in what that prescription's written for. Now, if you take that 30 pills and it lasts you for 6 months or 9 months or 10 months, that's fine. But I always like to put in what the script is written for in case your as needed becomes a lot more common, and maybe you are using 1 pill per month in that example. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Again, my name is Suzanne McLean with National United Medicare Advisors, and we are here to help you in any way. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.